Bienvenidos a Albuquerque, Nuevo México. Estamos celebrando el 10º aniversario de la Asociación Nacional Latina de Rancheros y Granjeros en los Estados Unidos. Acompáñenos a celebrar este gran acontecimiento. Welcome to Albuquerque, New Mexico, celebrating New Mexico traditional farming and ranching with the National Latino Farmers and Ranchers Trade Association on their 10th anniversary. Acompáñenos.
We're working very hard to integrate and expand our work relationship with folks that we come in contact with.
We should try to find ways to collaborate and collectively come together. That most of our strongest opponents, we do actually find that there's a place in the middle where we can get some action and some things accomplished, and Rudy will attest to that.
So we have a very severe challenge. So we have about 7 billion people on this planet right now, and in 2050, if the calculations are correct, we might add another 2 to 3 billion to that. So in many cases, we have run out of places really to grow food. So we have to really produce better growers, different ways of growing more intensively in urban areas.
And what we found is the demand for locally grown food far outstrips the supply. There isn't enough farmers, there aren't enough farmers, there's not enough production to supply the demand that's out there.
Because EPA was talking about 22 new regulations coming out. 22. We have the waters of the U.S. I don't know if you guys have ever talked about that at this conference, but waters of New Mexico is one of 15 states that sued because we think the definitions are a little arbitrary and capricious. And with that, you've got 37 states that aren't party to the suit. There's not a state. So now we got 2 waters of the U.S. rules in the United States. How confusing is that? We've asked EPA to hold off until we settle and get one. We can't have Texas under one rule and New Mexico under another. We got ranches on both, farms on both. It's crazy. But they're moving on. So folks, we gotta educate these guys.
I know that at times the relationship between USDA can be tenuous, but it's important because you help to educate us on what we need to do better. And that's important for us because ultimately the department is here to serve the people, and if it's not doing it right, how can we be doing it better? We have programs that if they're not being utilized correctly, then you can hold us accountable for how to do them better. And being here and listening and understanding helps bring that message back to DC, and it helps us think of new creative ways on how to do that. So for that, I do say thank you because I've helped to really understand things from a different perspective and hear how important this is to all of you.
NAS has worked with the Latino farmers and ranchers for several years now. Matter of fact, here in New Mexico, last census, we increased by our Latino count by 47%, roughly going from 6,400 to 9,400 reporting. So and again, it's thanks to our cooperation. And our agency is responsible for telling what's happening in agriculture, what's happening in trends. But we cannot do it without your cooperation and working together, making sure you're reporting on the census of agriculture, reporting on our surveys, because your story needs to be told, and we need to make sure that you are counted.
The traditions of growing your own food are long-standing in our community. What I see here is a strong movement, and organic is an old term for a new term for something that families have been doing for generations upon generations upon generation.
I really feel really blessed and lucky to be in the company and presence of people that have paved the way for us. So you are so recognized for the 10 years you've already put in, for the 20 years. I wouldn't be able to be up here if it wasn't for my elders, so I appreciate you too.
But there's a huge picture that's happening around the world with food. Food unites us in a lot of ways.
South Dakota is working very closely with the Earth Day Network, the League of Conservation Voters, and the NAACP Voter Fund, and we're going to mobilize 1 million voters for the next cycle with the idea that we're also going to talk about the earth, the environment, and making sure that we not only fight for our civil rights, which we are doing that also, but that we also make sure that we protect our planet and that we have a planet for the future generations.
We noticed at the end of the day we had a triple rainbow outside, which is a true blessing. Okay, it reminds me when I was working with the Zuni tribe to stop the Salt River Project, an 18,000-acre open pit coal mine at the Zuni Salt Lake, which is a sacred site. We were told it was impossible. They had all permits in hand and what have you. And after a 2-year period, after 20-year legal dependence on attorneys, we defeated that project in 2 years. It was probably the biggest win.
This type of tenacity and this type of leadership that needs to be recognized today. And it is the 10th anniversary. And in my opinion, all credit goes to Mr. Rudy Arredondo for this.
Hoy por ser tu aniversario te las cantamos aquí. Despierta, mi bien, despierta, mira que ya amaneció. Y a los pajarillos cantan, la luna ya se metió. Qué linda está la mañana en que vengo a saludarte. Venimos todos con gusto y placer a felicitarte. Ya viene amaneciendo y a la luz del día nos dio. Levántate de mañana, mira que ya amaneció. ¡Feliz aniversario!
Sí se puede.